Hey there everybody, it's Mark Crowley back with another how to draw video. You know, I don't normally do videos of how to draw other people's characters. Years ago I had done a video about how to draw Inuyasha and that got pulled down over some kind of copyright issue, but I was talking to Evan from Cartoon Block the other day and he does lots of videos on how to draw other famous characters, and he's never gotten in trouble for it, and so I thought I'll give it a try. And I'm going to begin with one of my very favorites, Naruto. Notice I don't say Naruto, I just can't say it that way. The Japanese pronunciation is more or less Naruto. So we're going to go ahead and get into this. I'm going to begin by drawing some simple lines just to get started. Okay, so you can see what I've done here. I've drawn some lines to create a perfect square in the middle, and then two more lines to create basically four perfect squares within that. That way we're all starting at the same point. It doesn't matter how big you make it or small, just so long as it is a perfect square. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, and right here is where we're going to be drawing Naruto's face. Okay, so the shape of Naruto's face is in many ways defined by his headband at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in with a sort of gently curving line here that intersects these first two boxes right around in the middle, you know, between those two lines. And I'll get to the details of the headband later, but, you know, mainly this video is going to focus on the face and getting the eyes, the nose, and the mouth in the right place. Now, I'm making very slightly diagonal lines. They're more or less vertical lines, but very slightly diagonal, and then curving down toward where the chin is going to be, more or less at the bottom of that box. And try your best to get them balanced so they sort of mirror one another, these two sides. That's the benefit of having this grid pattern. And that'll especially be important as we move on to doing the eyes. So I'm going to go ahead now and start with that. But before I get to the eyes, I want to do the eyebrows. In this particular drawing, he's going to have a typical Naruto look of intensity. I don't know if intensity is the right word, but his eyebrows are going to be coming down toward the middle of his face, almost looking like angry eyebrows, although he's not actually angry in this pose. And so you can see they create these sort of miniature triangles. These are the actual eyebrows here, and then these lines are sort of the furrowing of the brow. And you can put an extra line right here if you want to sort of indicate the bridge of the nose. And now here comes the big challenging part, and that is getting the eyes just right. You know, the creator of Naruto, Masashi Kishimoto, a fantastically talented man, I should say, by the way, one of the great world builders of our time, I think, really. He has a very distinctive way of drawing eyes, and you really have to focus on the shape of these eyes. They're kind of almond shaped. Does that make sense? What are almonds shaped? If you've never seen an almond, that doesn't help you at all. So I don't know exactly how to describe these, but you can see a basic curved shape that is a little higher on this side, pointing down toward the inner corner of the eye. And notice that I'm dividing this into two parts. There's the upper eyelid line like that, and then a smaller lower eyelid line. And there's these two gaps here that kind of let it breathe a little bit. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw the irises, or at least the iris of this eye. I'm probably going to do the second one in time-lapse just to save time, but we're going to do this whole first one in real time. Because he's got this intense look in his eye, the iris is kind of floating in the white of the eye. Notice that that's not a real common way to draw the eye. Usually the iris is sort of resting, partially concealed by the upper eyelid, but because he's got this intense look, like he's really focused, then we do in fact see the entirety of the iris. And it's very simple, and I think one of the coolest things about a Kishimoto design is how much he gets out of this simple, you know, outer line of the iris, one dot for the pupil, and that's all it is, but it looks great. And I think he, you know, hats off to him for having kind of figured that out. I'm going to go ahead and draw the second eye over here in time-lapse. All right, you know, so I hear from a lot of people who say, you know, I have problems getting my eyes to be the same size or to match one another. And that's another benefit of creating some kind of a grid like this. You can sort of compare the distances here to here, here to here, here to here, so that they match one another. Again, now, people are probably looking really closely, but yours don't even match. Where do you get off telling people this is the secret? Those eyes don't look anything like one another. But let's go ahead and move on to drawing the mouth first and then the nose. I think the mouth is going to be just a tiny bit closer to the chin, this bottom line here, but more or less directly between the two. And, again, depending on what Naruto drawing you're looking at, the mouth is going to be drawn differently. He's got this kind of interesting shaped mouth that looks sort of like it's going to be a frown, but then there's these little hooks on the edge that actually reveal it as a little bit of a smile. I don't know if it's sort of mischievous or a look of confidence. It seems to me that mouth, sort of unusual looking mouth there. And now for the nose, really not that hard to do. Look for a space between here, maybe just a touch closer to the mouth, and just, 1, 2 simple dots for the nostrils. That's really all you need to create the effect of his nose. Of course, you've got the 3 lines on each side of his face, and I'm going to go ahead and put the first one in like so. Maybe I'm going to jump down to the third one because I want to make sure there's the proper distance between the mouth, and then I can just find the absolute center of this. Now on the other side it's going to be pretty much exactly the same, so let's go ahead and do that also in time-lapse. Okay, time to move on to the ears now. Relatively simple shape here for the ears. I'm starting near that highest line on the side of the cheek there, and I'm going up like this. It's hard to describe what this shape is. Kind of an oval shape, but notice that it rests, the top part rests at the beginning of the headband. And he does really a nice job of depicting ears with just a couple of lines here. Get one line coming down, that's the sort of upper ridge, and then just really a simple kind of curving line here, and that's pretty much all he does, at least from this point of view, when you're looking straight on at the face. And that's all you really need for getting the ears. So I'm going to go ahead and do the second in time-lapse. Okay, so the basic lines of the face are done. I'm just going to put in a couple of strands of hair here on the side, and that pretty much does it. And that's really the main focus of my video, is getting his face right, the eyes and the facial features in the proper locations. And this is all based on very close study of actual published Kishimoto illustrations, which I always advise. If you're going to do fan art like this, do the creator of the original art. Give them the respect of actually studying their illustrations carefully, learning how to draw it the way the original artist does, and then later on, if you want to do your version, you can go ahead and go to town and change things around. But to begin with, I think you really should learn the proper way of doing it, as the original artist did. I'm going to pull back and move a lot quicker on drawing the other features as we finish off this illustration. Okay, so I've pulled back far enough to start drawing the headband and the hair, and one thing I want to do is add just one more line up here at the top to give myself a sense of where the hair is going to stop. And I must say there is variation from one published illustration to another as to how large the hair is. But in any case, the illustrations that I was looking at ended up having quite full-bodied, super spiky hair. I'm starting with a couple of spikes of hair on either side of the headband, just because they come in front and they sort of obscure the edges of the headband. And then looking at the distance between here and here, I am going to roughly replicate that, doing a more or less horizontal line, maybe just a little bit of a curve for the upper part of the headband. I should say that this is the Naruto Shippuden version, the older version of Naruto. Some people might say, hey, but I wanted to learn how to draw the younger version. And who knows, maybe I can do a separate video like that. But I do want to warn you guys, I'm not going to suddenly start making all of my videos being how to draw videos of other people's characters. No, I just don't think that's my style, but I will every once in a while, maybe, who knows, 1 out of every 10 or so, do a video that's how to draw a pre-existing character, you know, just as fan art, because it's fun to you know, show your dedication to someone else's character by doing fan art, and you can learn a lot, really, by studying their techniques. So I'm drawing this sort of plate, this metallic plate that is on the headband. Notice, and I didn't really notice this until I started studying, that there's a much larger gap here at the top of the headband than there is at the bottom. Then, of course, we have these 3 bolts that hold it in place. That's not so hard to do. And then we have to get to the insignia, which sort of follows its own logic. I noticed that it's not just curling around at random, the center of this insignia. It starts here, it curves to the left, it comes around, and then stops after 1 little loop. So you might almost think of it as a very curvy letter G. Then we have a line coming off like this, and then we have these 2 other sort of arrow-like lines, you know, the line that make it looks a little to me like a pointing arrow, to finish that insignia. And then sometimes I notice Kishimoto will actually draw extra lines, you know, sort of double up on these lines so as to make them look like they are carved out of the metal, you know, that this plate is made out of. And that is pretty much it for that. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I draw the hair, but I think to cut down on the length of time for this video, I'm going to do this in time-lapse. I think when people have trouble drawing Naruto, it's not the hair that they're having so much trouble with, it's more the facial features. So I'm going to do this in time-lapse, but notice that this upper line here is going to be something of a guideline for showing how large the hair gets. Okay, so you can see how I started with a bit of a circle there, just to give myself a guideline as to where each point would rest, you know, the spiky hair. And there, you know, you can actually sit and count these things and see how many spikes are there, and it does sort of vary a little from drawing to drawing, but I found, for example, the drawing that I was studying had 12 spikes of hair. So I don't know, is it like a clock or something? We could number them. Put it on your wall for telling time. Kishimoto, get back to me. We'll work it out. Well, there probably already is a product like that, actually. Anyway, I'm going to pull back and I'm going to finish this drawing off all in time lapse. People are going to hate me for doing this, but I want this really, you know, they hate when I do too much of it in time lapse, but I want to sort of finish this off and turn it into a legitimate piece of fan art and show you, you know, how far you can go with an illustration like this. But please treat this as a how-to on how to draw the head and the hair, the sort of basic face of Naruto. And if you want me to do something about the pose later on in the future, maybe I can do that. But let's go ahead, pull back, and do time-lapse to turn this into a legitimate piece of fan art. All right, well, there you have it, the final product, and apologies, as usual, I blew through an awful lot of stuff in time-lapse, but I will be doing a video on my coloring techniques. People have been waiting for this for a very long time. In fact, I'm a little bit afraid that if I don't do it soon, my subscribers will come after me with torches and pitchforks. Crilly, you have failed us for the last time. So don't come after me, please. I promise I will be getting that done soon. But let's go ahead and end this video the usual way. I want to thank anyone who's picked up my graphic novel series, Miki Falls. Also, Brody's Ghost, now available in a Scholastic edition at book fairs across the country. I greatly, greatly appreciate your support and all your comments and clicking that subscribe button and all that good stuff. But let's go ahead and lay the pencil down. I want to thank you one more time for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back with another one real soon.